Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to GPVWC. It is the first career ladder round of the season. We're off to San Marino and the Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari. It doesn't seem a moment ago that the 2022 season was getting underway at this very circuit, but in fact, it is the 2023 season that we are now finally on. Formula Sprint 2, second year that this competition has taken this name. I'm Tom Dillon, and alongside me for this evening and for the season as a whole is Jan Granqvist. And Jan, we've already had a chance to see a little bit about these cars and about these drivers in the pre-season test in Fuji a couple of months ago, but we're here now. We're in San Marino and it's a new season, new dawn. It should be an exciting one.
Yes, hello everyone. It's awesome to be here for the first time and to kick off the GPV 2023 season. And as you said, we already had a little bit of a taster since Fuji to see what these guys are capable of. And yeah, this time we see them in full action. Maybe some people might not have been shown their all of their cards yet, but this time for sure we'll be able to see just what the grid is going to look like for the first race.
And well, we've got 10 minutes left in this qualifying session, first qualifying session of the season, and possibly unsurprisingly, it's Luke Mitchell leading an Alfa Sierra 1-2 at the moment. Massimiliano Riboli alongside him, the Alfa Sierra side. Well, looking very, very strong indeed, though. Here's Michael Turo Mahler sitting in third position in the number 10 car, stayed with Scuderia Cap Clay for this season, and well, he might just be pushing for this top two, trying to get himself into that pole position. He does stay third with this lap, despite Louis Hartley's best efforts to go up into fourth, but at the moment, Luke Mitchell, probably the favourite for this championship, Jan, especially with the departure of Stephen Lexo and Ruven Machete from the championship. He really was the man, I think, last season, other than those guys, and here he is purple again.
Yeah, that's absolutely what I've been hearing, and what we even speculated in Fuji. Luke looking extremely strong for this season starter, but I do have to say, Massimiliano Riboli has also been right at his tail, and yeah, look at that, it's only half a tenth separating those two, but then also there is Mikael Tuomala, as you had mentioned, only 600ths, although now as Mitchell sets another time, setting him now a bit further up in pole, but still only 1/10 between the top three, and well, it is certainly looking to be a strong start for the Alpha Sierra guys. As we look at Lucas Thylin now in P5, he's setting his best first sector. Oh, as he goes a bit wide through the exit of Piratella, now approaching Aqua Minerale. We'll see how this lap pans out. Going yet again just a bit too wide, a bit too aggressive, and very, very much losing time there. As you can see now on the sector split yellow, and yeah, it's not looking good for this particular lap, but P5 still seems very strong at this point.
It does at the moment. There he is 5/10 off in the second sector. We'll see what Thailand can do into this final corner. Nice and tight through the first corner, through the second corner, swoops it in onto the curb just a little bit too aggressively. Not able to use all of it on the exit and comes into the pits. Perhaps slightly unsurprisingly from Luca Thylin. I think we're about to have a look a little bit further down the order and see if anyone else is on a lap at this stage. And we are Scott Morris, Team RNG, returning this season. New nice blue and white livery up through into the Varianta Alta chicane right at the end of this Imola circuit. There's always a spin from Scott Morris, just about holds onto the car, onto the AstroTurf on the right hand side. Almost doing a Charles Leclerc there. You have to be so aggressive onto the curves into that corner, but it can cost you so dearly if you get it wrong, as Scott has done it here through the final corner. We'll see if he can indeed bump himself up from 21st position, but with a half spin like that, I think down into the pits is probably the right call for him. 7 minutes and 30 seconds to go in the session. Plenty of people setting green lap times. It looked like Florian Hasse has just gone green, 1:34.5 according to my race view timing screen. Tommy Kuvian jumps up into 11th position. Behind him is Matthews Piskan, 9/10 down on pole position at the moment, 1:34.7. Only 4,000th of a second off of the guy ahead of him, who himself, Kuvian, is 4,000th of a second off of Davide Zanini. This field is remarkably close, particularly in the top 10.
Yes, absolutely. It's great to see. The gaps are definitely closing up at some points. People seeming to be bunched up really in that 9/10 mark off of pole right now, and it's a really tight battle just to get into that top 10, and it's really nice to see. And to mention, again, more of these Finnish names have been starting to appear around here in GPV, and it's really awesome to see. With it's Roy Seifert getting turn one just a bit wrong there, but yeah, we've been getting. So we have Mikael Tuomala in P3 right now, and we have Tommi Koivunen and Noah Tuomala, 3 Finnish people. Glad to be representing our home country of Finland, and it's yeah, it's a pleasure to be commentating over these people.
We're obviously One Esports as we switch to Seva Patanenko as he goes up through into turn 1. This is only his outlap at the moment. Wonderful purple tinge to that particular car. The VMS Sun Edits Racing side. Done a couple of years of GPVWC now. Onto the grass on turn. Not ideal from Seva, when he's going along reasonably nicely at the moment, getting those tyres up to temperature. Only one tyre, of course, available to the guys in the Formula Sprint 2. They have the hard tyre, I believe. Massimiliano Rivoli makes a slide through the Varianta Alta, but he's purple in the first sector. We'll see if he can do anything in terms of his teammates' lap time. It might be a season, actually, that's between these two Alpha Sierra sides. We'll have to wait and see. Aggressive onto the curb once more through the final corner goes Massimiliano Rivoli. See what he can do. DRS ablaze. Shortest run to the line, 1:33.7. He does, in fact, jump 200ths of a second above his teammate as Maxime Bilou gets up into 16th position. Pretty good so far from Massimiliano Rivoli.
Yeah, absolutely. It is looking very strong for these guys in Alpha Sierra. It's 200ths though separating these two. It's such a close battle right now. Already in qualifying, we're getting to see, and so I see Junior Lopez getting through into the final sector, approaching the Rubatas. It's like it could be an improvement from him. It's going to be at the moment 5/10 he's lost for pole from the first and middle sector, but still could be quite a few places he could be jumping here depending on his last sector. It doesn't look like it is though. He doesn't set his best last sector.
It's Luke Mitchell still on pole position with about 4 minutes to go in the qualifying session, and he's purple in the first. Let's ride on board throughout this entire lap if we can with Luke Mitchell. That's almost a drift outside of the Tosa hairpin. You have to correct me, Jan, if my corner names are wrong at all at this Imola circuit. They're not ideal.
It's been alright so far. Tosa is the absolute correct corner for that one. As we're approaching Aqua Minerale, such a really brave corner you have to take. It's really difficult to get it just right, as weight shifting is the king of that corner. Going into Variante Alta, if I do... Sorry, I might not actually be correct with all these names myself, but Variante Alta is the correct chicane name, in fact. But yeah, as we approach now the Rubatas, sorry, and yeah, it is just about, again, all depending on this final sector, whether Luke Mitchell can improve on his lap. Let's see as he crosses the line, what will it be? Another purple final sector as he does improve and now sets himself apart by nearly 2/10 of Riboli.
Yeah, exactly. It could have been even better if he hadn't have had that slide outside of Tosa. But I have to say, Imola's one of those tracks that I've driven probably the most in sim racing, particularly over the last 6 months. I love this circuit, and I do in real life as well. But the corner names can never stick into my head. As here goes Lucas Stein out of the Variante Alta. Purple in the middle sector, perhaps springing a little bit of a surprise on us. Needs 4/10 worth of an improvement in order to go to the top of the timing sheet. Here he goes through the two Ravatsas then. See what he can do. Pretty nice onto the curb and onto the exit as well, using all of the circuits here. Now shortest run to the line, as most of these top guys are using, almost extending on the inside. 1:33.7. He jumps up to second and actually sandwiches himself in between the two Alpha Sierra teams, two Alpha Sierra drivers, and actually with 2 laps perhaps left in his qualifying run, I wonder if they have fueled up for the 3 or whether they're going to try and just keep it to 1s here.
You know, that's an interesting point there. How much fuel you can carry for the quali laps. But about the corner names, you know what it might be? I'm fairly certain it's just the fact that we've got so many Italian or great Italian racetracks with so many memorable corner names that it's just difficult to piece them all together.
It is, but it's a distinctly Imola problem for me. I'm pretty confident at Monza, as he is all a huge slide for Bobby in the GPVWC Academy car. He's sitting down in 18th position at the moment. Obviously the GPVWC Academy team is returning for this season. He looks right on top of that, does Bobby right now. And actually, it's good to see Menno keeping this team going. It's obviously the people excelling in the academy. If any teams are struggling for emergency drivers and things, it gives them a chance to put themselves into the spotlight, get themselves a more permanent drive. Let's see what Bobby can do if he can indeed send himself on his way to a permanent drive. Crossing the line he goes, 1:34.8, doesn't jump up past 18th position. We've got 42 seconds left. The guys should be on their final laps right now. I know Luke Mitchell certainly is. Massimiliano Rivoli is out of the pits as well, so he should be too. Here is Rivoli actually looking to go into sector 2 now through the Variante Alta. Huge moment off of the circuit. And well, he's racing against the clock here. He might just be able to get one more lap in. Let's wait and see. 18 seconds on to the clock. It's going to be right on the bubble for Rivoli. Here he goes through Ravazza, just about understeering slightly, keeping on top of the car, trying to at least rounding the final corner. Here goes Ribbley trying to get this off of his teammates. I think he actually invalidated that lap, but he's going to squeeze another one in.
Wow, that was, again, just so aggressive. This track is so tempting to just, rag the living heck out of your car. And we're seeing that definitely with all these drivers in qualifying, just trying to push their limits. And, I mean, sometimes it'll cost you. And certainly it has with quite a few drivers. As we see Riboli now getting yet another purple sector in by 1/10. He gets that first sector down. So now we power ourselves up straight up to the next corner, Piratella. Again, a very high-speed, aggressive corner. You have to be careful, though, not to touch the outside curb too much as we go down the hill. Now approaching Acqua Minerale one more time. Very much a notorious corner for, a little bit of a moment like that. And we could be seeing an improvement, perhaps. No, it's definitely down on the time, as we can see. 3/10 as he absolutely clobbers Variante Alta, and that is it, I'm afraid, for his lap.
It is, and his chances at pole position too. Maxime Bilou, can he do anything to take a chunk out of this Luke Mitchell lap time? Probably not. Green in the first two sectors through the final corner. And he try and find himself in a higher position. Only one of the last three to set a lap time. I think he can't. He does improve, but it's not enough to jump up the order. Louis Hartley goes fourth, by the way, on the line. It's now just Akash Hoke who is setting a lap, and Dan Hutt at the bottom of the field as well. So here's Dan Hutt. I think he's taking the checker flag.
Trying to see, but
he's got to have done, surely, at this stage.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused right now as of who has done their laps, who's just about started their laps. But I have a feeling, is this actually a valid lap?
Well, stewards might be having a look at this one. All's fair in love and war, as the saying goes. Dan Hutt up to Acqua Minerale now. Slides it through, and it's not going to matter anyway, because that is opposite lock for a moment. Dan Hutt not on an ideal lap at the moment through the Variante Alta. Then is he just barely hanging on to the ability to even set this lap through? He goes 9/10 of a second off of pole position, but he is still on an improvement. Can he jump up the order at all as we go through into the two Ravazzas? 50-metre board. Dip it in, and it will somehow be a valid lap for Dan Hutt, unless he comes into the pits now, which he does. So just fancying an in-lap, I suppose.
Yeah, it was quite interesting to see, because we were looking at who was it who crossed the line right at the last moment. I believe it was one of the Alpha Sierra guys, and Riboli, and it looked like, I mean, he was going to set his lap, and then all of a sudden we see Dan Hutt setting a lap, so it was quite confusing. But here we see the grid, so it's Luke Mitchell who takes pole from Lucas Thielin, splitting the Alpha Sierra boys, with Massimiliano Riboli in P3, and Louis Hartley in P4 for Kings Racing, Mikael Tuomala P5, Roy Seifert in P6, Maxime Beaulieu in 7th, with Tommy Lee in P8, Mateusz Pishan in P8, oh no, sorry, that is P9, with Florian Haase rounding up the top 10. Junior Lopez in P11, with Tommi Koivunen right after him in P12. Craig Patterson in P13. Sorry, this is getting confusing because the graphics, I believe, has confused one of the drivers. So I'm just going to read them out how they are. So Seva Panasenko in 13th, David Zanini in P14, Noah Tuomela in P15, with Yannick Akashuk in P16, Dominic Slabon P17, Magnus Okkenog in 18th, and Bobby Vakunov in P19. And Jörn Dix in 20th with Luca Gray in P21, Scott Morris 22nd, Sven Smits P23, Dan Hutt in 24th, Caitlin Penny in 25th, Mihailovic Entievich in P26 with Johannes Leppert in P27, and Alex Hallows in P28 with Victor Cabello in P29. As we get to the last two drivers of the grid with Luca Tizano in 30th with Daniel Stander in 31st.
And well, thank you for running us through the grid. Jan, we're going to be back in about 8 minutes' time, but we'll be going to a break for the warm-up session. Join us in about 8 minutes' time for race 1 of the Career Ladder season, and of course of this Formula Sprint 2 season as well. We'll see you then. Welcome back, everybody, to Formula Sprint 2. We're just about to transition over into the race session at the Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari. It is a 16-lap race. Two races coming up around the 4.9-kilometre circuit. The first of the two, obviously, coming up right now. I'm Tom Dillon. Joining me once again is Jan Granqvist. And Jan, entertaining qualifying session. We suspect Luke Mitchell might run away with this. That's certainly my inkling here. I don't know how you feel about this race.
Yeah, qualifying certainly told us quite a bit about people's raw pace, but you never really know just how people are going to take the race itself, with there potentially being different strategies available to people, bringing potentially a bit more fuel just to be safe, and also people trying to save their tires potentially. And yeah, we could be seeing Luke Mitchell potentially running away with it. However, I do think there are some competitors such as Thailand right behind him to potentially take that away from him, as now we see the grid run up. It's Luke Mitchell in pole position, with Lucas Thailand in second place, with Massimiliano Riboli in P3, with Hartley P4, Mikael Tuomala P5, Roy Seifert right behind him in 6th, Maxime Berlieu 7th, and Tom Ely in P8. Matus Pischan in P9, and Florian Haase rounding up the top 10, and Junior Lopez in P11, with Tommi Koivunen in 12th. Craig Patterson in 13th, with Seva Panasenko right beside him. Davide Zanini in 15th, with Noah Tuomela in 16th. And Yannick Akashuk in 17th, with Dominic Schlabon in 18th, and Magnus Okenog in 19th, with Bobby Vaquinov in 20th. Jörn Dix in 21st, with Luca Gray in 22nd, Scott Morris in P23, and Sven Smits in P24. Dan Hutt in 25th, Caitlin Penny in 26th, Mihailo Vicentievich in 27th, and Johannes Lepid in 28th. Alex Hallows in P29, Victor Cabello in 30th, with Dania Stander in P31, and Luca Tizzano in 32nd.
The grid then for the first race of many in this long season, as it always is in Formula Sprint 2 and the career ladder as well, of course. All of the races from San Marino coming up over the next 2 weeks on this very YouTube channel. But Jan, just before we get to this green light, I just want to ask you for your prediction for a top 3 in this race.
Oh, it's going to be a difficult one, but I do have to say, you know what, I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to put Thailand to finish first, and potentially Luke Mitchell losing out to him. But I mean, I know Luke Mitchell is definitely many people's favourite here, but and then Massimiliano Riboli definitely being in the mix. Go into the light.
As we get to 5 red lights for round 1 of the FS2 season, and we are underway for FS2 in 2023. It's a good start from Luke Mitchell, a good start from Thailand as well. The King's racing car further behind is trying to apply pressure to Michael Tuomala down into turn 1. Through we go into the Tumbarello chicane, where Bowley stays in 3rd position. It's actually pretty line of stern for the time being. Mitchell in the lead of the race from Thailand, from Riboli, from Tuomala. Louis Hartley is there in the King's racing car trying to make up some ground. Tuomala is actually pressuring Riboli up into Tosa, but it is Mitchell who still leads. Yellow flags for a moment further back in the field, but it all looks okay for the time being as we get into sector 3 for the first time of 16 in the race, and it's Luke Mitchell who is under pressure but leading.
Yeah, it's a very clean start from the top boys right here, and it's very much looking like Thailand is pressuring Luke Mitchell straight from the get-go, and it's looking great as we head up from Aqua Minerale into Variant Alta. It looks like Thailand might have gone over the curbs just a little bit there, but so far so good.
So far, so good indeed. Luke Mitchell pulled out a 5/10 of a second gap in that previous sector. He's, of course, purple in both of the first 2 sectors, being the leader of the race and the one outside of traffic. Here's Maxime Belou. He's trying to make some moves on Tom Ely just ahead of him in the number 5 car. Tom Ely himself looking at Roy Ziffert, who's made up a couple of positions into 6th position. Actually, I think he said he might have started 6th, Roy Ziffert. So staying where he is for the time being. Belou looking to attack down into Tamburello. We know once that DRS enables, it's going to be a little bit of an interesting one. Victor Tuvik gets a penalty straight off of lap 1.
Well, it looks like it's kicking off at the front. Louis Hartley next to Mikael Tuomala looking for a move, and even behind with Berlieu and Tom Ely side by side going into turn 1. Wow, there's a lot of battles just about happening right now as we go on to the second lap and people getting the slipstream from the straights. It's 3 wide as we approach Villeneuve. It is Berliu and Mateusz Piszczan who are fighting right there, and it looks like Berliu might have just gotten away with it and is now following Tom Ely up the hill into Piratella.
It was brave from Mateusz Piszczan, who just not able to make that position. They're side by side, further back in this order as well. Florian Hasse has to back out of the move into 10th position, stays 10th in the number 3 car. Patterson gets past Turo Marla for 13th position. They're still battling up into Outcrim Raleigh, actually a little bit further behind. In the order, there's a spin, and there's a spin, and I think it might just be Ely. Does that Piszczan involved as well? I'm not too sure. 2 cars going round. No, here is Piszczan under pressure for Florian Hasse as they go through into Varianta Alta, and Piszczan holds on to 8th position that he's just gained from the spinning car as there's yellow flags in sector 2. Still that reading game car holding on to 8th position at the moment. Here goes Florian Hasse around the outside into Ravazza to the inside. Goes that number 72 car, and he stays in that 8th position for the time being. It's brave stuff from all of these guys at the moment. Mitchell sets the fastest lap of the race on the second lap, 1.3 seconds. His gap now to 2nd position, and it is absolutely incredible stuff. Fischer Tuvix in to serve his penalty in the meantime. And my word, it all kicked off on that lap.
Wow, and even still, look, it's almost 3 wide yet again going into turn 1. It's so much happening in just a matter of 3 laps, and it's Noah Dormala now looking into an outside overtake, perhaps into Villeneuve. No, it's certainly not going to work there, is it? It's really close racing for the couple of first laps, and awesome to see, but at the same time, yeah, the cars look really sketchy through Aqua Minerale, as we saw just a few cars spinning and crashing there. But so far now it looks like people might be settling a bit better now in the top 10 at least, but here we see people outside of the top 10 still certainly in a very tightly packed train.
We are indeed. Luca Gray is in 17th position, looking to pick up any scraps from this battle that was just about to get going with that King's Racing car at the head of it. 17th position for Luca Gray at the moment, as I mentioned. Not quite able to find any way through. Alex Laho in chat said, GG Luke, why are you staying in FS2? He's certainly cruising at the moment. I think wants to rack up that championship as the DRS gets enabled on this lap. Let's see what Turo Marla can do down into turn 1. Yet another PB and fastest lap of the session from Luke Mitchell crossing the line on the 3rd lap. DRS enabled then for Turo Marla. This is where it's going to get slightly crazy. You'll use the DRS to its full advantage. Down into Tom Morello, around the outside he goes on the King's Racing car of Louis Hartley, but he's not quite able to find his way through just yet. There's Roy Ziffert as well in the Red Ven car trying to make up moves when possible. Not just yet though. He looks to the outside now. Turo Marla through into Villeneuve, and he has to stay behind once more. It's firm defence at the moment from Louis Hartley, who is weathering the storm with his pressure quite nicely as they go up into Tosa.
A great defense from Louis Hartley. Placed his car just about where he needed for that DRS threat, and so far Mikael Dormala just misses out on that chance that he got around the outside, and it's really good racing with Roy Seifert as well, just eyeing out the situation and sort of just looking at these two as a predator, like a shark just waiting to pounce on its prey, just seeing if he can get a better exit perhaps from a corner and maybe just power up and attack them onto the next straight. And here we see Variante Alta, Louis Hartley just about going a bit wide, but I don't think it's going to be too much of a threat as Mikael Dormala is still in DRS range. However, it might not be close enough.
Zanini got past Florian Hasse into that particular section, and now around the outside goes Magnus Ockenhaug in the GPVWC Academy car, but has to turn his attack into defence for a brief moment through Ravazza to try and hold on to that 16th position in the end. Now we'll have the DRS, and the benefit of it is Raboli is trying to attack Thylin, I believe, on this particular occasion. 0.3 of a second between them. We look at Ockenhaug for a moment though, seeing if he can get through into turn 1. Down the inside he goes. This should be a pretty simple move. It might be 3 wide for a moment at the back, but no, it's Ockenhaug through, and I think following him through there is Luca Gray on Dominic Slavon, who is now attacking Luca Gray, actually out of the first corner of this circuit, up into Villeneuve, has to go to the inside, stays behind in the end, and is just one single change of position with Magnus Ockenhaug getting through.
Well, I believe Imola has made a mistake and has let Seifert through now to attack Harley, as there's, another car outside perhaps causing the yellow flags, and now another chance opens for Magnus Ockenhaug, who is also racing with a fever today. He's apparently not feeling so well, so wishing for a speedy recovery for him. As we now go into Aqua Minerale with this pack of cars, again, very tightly bound group.
That's an aggressive move to the inside for Luca Gray. Not going to happen for him. He's just building that pressure, showing his nose for the moment, and then actually having to tuck in behind, but he's got a good exit out of the Variante Alta. Might look for a move into Ravazza. There's a car behind looking for a move into Ravazza. That is backing off on Slarbon. Down the inside goes Luca Gray. It's a dive bomb. It's a little bit of a dive bomb, but it's executed absolutely superbly. Luca Gray up into 15th position, up into the points, and most importantly into reverse grid contention. Further back there is Vackenhout coming under pressure. I think that's from Tom Ely for 18th position. It is. Tom Ely had a spin, I believe, a little bit earlier on into the race. I could have sworn he was up into the top 10 for a while. We saw yellow flags and he gets up into 18th position. But Josh Downer says Luke must be using Simple.
He just got a crash. 3 cars involved.
Academy car as well. I think it's 2 of the Academy cars. It's Vakinov and Ockenhaug and Ely, who now is having to, with a bent suspension, I can only assume, go off onto the left-hand side. It looks like ceasing participation in the first race of the season.
It was one of the GPV Academy cars just getting turn 1 wrong and then having to get a very awkward line through Tamburello and cutting across the curbs, having nothing in its power to do to avoid that. So, well, we'll have to see that again after the race, potentially, to really see who's at fault. But here we have Lucas Island now really pressuring Massimiliano Riboli in P2, who, and Lucas Island could be really a big threat right now for this Alpha Sierra 1-2. However, I think it was Lucas Island, however, who was in P2, wasn't it, for most of the race start?
He made that pass on the previous lap, and he'll look to make a pass back on this lap. Yeah, down the inside he goes. This is what we see at Imola so much. It's almost not even a surprise when you see him move down into Tombarello, because that DRS is so powerful that actually you just end up with these ding-dong battles where the cars overtake each other at alternating laps.
Yeah, it's very much a game of DRS here. Have to be smart how you use it, and these two definitely trying to use it to their advantage.
They are indeed, as there goes one of the King Racing cars trying to get through into turn 2, the Priority 1 Esports car. I apologise, I had my screen minimised for a moment whilst you were talking to look at the schedule for the rest of the streams this week, so I can mention those a little bit later on. There is a King's Racing car, it's close, it's Davide Zanini just behind this little pack, Tuamala and Patterson Tuamelo, I should say, sorry, and Patterson involved in it. It's still Luke Mitchell who leads. It would be a grand slam for him if he's able to complete this particular race. Win, obviously, a grand slam, I suppose, in FS2. Includes also winning race 2. There's a spin for the King's Racing car, and it's Zanini who goes round at Aqua Minerale, and we know this is an attritional race. As there goes Hassa as well, I think, getting round Zanini. Is it's huge drama at the moment. Luca Gray goes through into 13th position. It was, I apologise, Hassa, who went off of the road. There's a little bit of a battle at the top of your picture. That's for Vakinov getting past Panasenko on this occasion into the Variante Alta. But I was told by my own drivers, actually, who are, I'm glad to say, are having quite a quiet race at the moment. Matthews Pizgan up into 7th position. But I was told that it's going to be a very attritional race, and that seems to be exactly what we've got, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking very tricky for these drivers to keep it on the road at the moment. People having to take some very awkward avoidance as they notice people ahead them, potentially spinning or just losing a moment of control. And it's really shaken up this grid at the moment, while we have Massimiliano Riboli still hunting down Lucas Thailand. And yeah, very much it's a ding-dong battle, as you've been saying, with these two. But further behind, it seems like Tuamala has also been falling behind. He's now behind Bolu, who's seized his opportunity to get into P5. And Hartley still in P4.
Yes, he is. Rivoli now, I think, maybe just sensing an opportunity to wait in, sit in for a little bit, and then attack on the final couple of laps. Behave yourself, Ross McIntyre, in chat. That is devious, let's say. The banter starting already. Here's Caitlin Penny, 22nd position, started 26th. This may be a theme of the season, when me paying a little bit more attention to my drivers than others. Hopefully he doesn't lose me my job here. But looking fine. That livery, I do say. Made it myself. It is temporary. Will be removed for the next round. Having one made by Jan Santon, I think it is. But Penny in 22nd position at now, looking like trying to attack for this top 20. But it's a couple of immovable objects in Cabello, and the car just behind him at the moment is their RNG car. I believe it would be Scott Morris. This is around the outside, and this is going to be Massimiliano Riboli up into second position. Thailand not able to do anything about that. They were so close together. Through Tomborello, Massimiliano Riboli coming from miles back, and it allows himself to get into that second position and ahead of Luca Thailand. Now, what I would like to see is to play the team game. I'd quite like to see, Luke Mitchell to drop back a little bit here, Jan, and give his teammate that DRS to make sure that Thailand stays in third.
Yeah, I mean, really, it is a strategy that you can, of course, use, but I believe the gap is just too big at the moment to really warrant that at the moment. Wait, is that... Am I seeing this correctly? No, it must be a lapped car that I've just seen go past.
Yes,
sorry. It is a 3-second gap between Luke Mitchell and Riboli, so personally, I would not risk a 3-second buffer for a potential DRS train. But obviously it's a tactic that they could use, but whether you do use it or not, it is a difficult decision as a team manager. I see in the chat Chris Butchers, but hey Jan, you're a great commentator. Perhaps you should commentate SL1. I wish I could commentate while I was driving the car, but unfortunately, I do not think that is quite possible.
Through into the first corner goes this battle for 5th position, and it's actually Florian Haase now for 13th position, going around the outside, and he is overtaken on this occasion by David Day. Oh no, sorry, Florian Haase is the car ahead. Luca Gray gets past. I apologise, the camera angle was not doing us any great favours there for a moment, but the optimal car is up into 13th position. It doesn't help that both of the cars are also practically the same livery, just for different teams. Not doing us any great favours at all, but Luke Mitchell still leads. 3.12 seconds is the gap to Riboli. Behind, Thailand sits in third. Still Riboli pulling a little bit of a gap. Here's Florian Haase trying to get his own back, or Luca Gray trying to get his own back at Florian Haase, as we see drama into Tozer as Seva Pasinenko is now trying to get up to Schmitz for 16th position. Not quite able to do anything into the left-hander here as they go up into Aqua Minerale. He likes to call himself Saver Pancakes on occasion. Does Saver Pasinenko. Right now, sitting in 17th position. Oh, there's 16th because it's a spin almost. It was
another moment
in
Aqua Minerale.
Lots of moments.
There's a lot of those we've been seeing now. Like, it's becoming a pattern, really, in Aqua Minerale. People just seemingly getting the rear just too light as all the load goes onto the front tyres. And as soon as you go on the throttle, trying to power up that hill, it really messes up your balance. And as I believe, Bolu and Imola are going side by side through Tamburello, and it looks like Bolu might have just gotten that place for him.
It does indeed. He's up into 5th position, Maxime Burlow, and able to get that move sorted. Again, DRS so powerful as an academy car that was being lapped. I apologise. Going wide. It was not the easiest place to get lapped. Typically, you pull off of the racing line rather than doing that. But anyway, Thailand is in 3rd position, trying to attack Riboli still. Thankfully, not much going on there in the way of losing anyone any time. And now Thailand can start to try and attack Riboli yet again. Lap 11 of 16. Yellow flags in Sector 2. I can't see anything on my screen as I'm bored with this wonderful Kaizen Kota Racing TV cam attacking the curves once more. Riboli taking a bit more of a conservative line through there, and it works wonders for him. Gains about 6/10 of a second through that corner. Might just give him the opportunity to stay ahead onto lap 12 and then potentially even 13, 14 through to the end of this race. His teammate still leading 4 seconds, almost that gap to Luke Mitchell ahead, almost insurmountable for the guys at the moment. 5 laps remaining is the call on the overlay.
Yeah, you know, the two battles that I've been really interested in looking at on the timing screens is certainly Thailand versus Riboli, and then the battle for P5 between Tuomala and Berliu. Although right now it seems like Berliu might be running away with it and potentially getting P5 all for himself. Looks like Roy Seifert might have just made a move on Mateusz Piszczan. But yeah, certainly there are these pairs starting to form up and getting into their own battles, which is going to be interesting to see for the remaining few laps. And certainly a lot of people really looking for that opportunity in turn 1. It looks like Schlabron as well, taking advantage of that DRS. However, he might get re-overtaking into Villeneuve. Is he enough alongside? He's going to leave the space, Schlabron is, but it looks like he's going to get away with it in P16 with no further drama so far in this lap. But yeah, to get back on the P2 and P3 battle and P5, it looks like Louis Hartley is pretty much in his little pocket of air with just sitting somewhere in no man's land.
One of the lap cars going off of the circuit there. No huge drama though. I think he's okay and able to get back going again. Thailand closer than he has been the last couple of laps ahead in relation to Massimiliano Riboli. Let's see what he can do down into turn 1. DRS is ablaze. This should be a pretty simple pass for him with the power of this DRS around this circuit. Riboli might just have to sit behind. There he goes through into turn 1. Riboli cannot do anything about that, though he might try down the inside. He does in the end have to yield the position through though up into Villeneuve.
Could be another move into Villeneuve.
He goes through on Tamburello. Now let's see, can he go down the inside into Villeneuve? Breaks as late as he can, but Thyle on the outside line is able to swoop around and hold on to the position. Actually, it was probably against Riboli's best interest to go for the move there, because it just looked like potentially his chance has now gone, and this might just be one of those that's decided into lap 16, you know, because Riboli looked like he was holding on to that quite nicely.
Yeah, it's now turning more into a game of chess, really. We need to see what these guys have planned out for the final few laps with the one and only DRS straight, where you can really plan simple moves like that. But yeah, it's as you said, probably in his best interest not to get a move done into Villeneuve. I do believe that little straight is just not quite enough to get them side by side into that corner to warrant a car's width.
Yellow flags still fly in Sector 3 as Mateusz Piszczan makes his way through. He's got 9/10 of a second gap, 8/10 make that now, ahead to Roy Seifert. Will definitely try and make a move down into turn 1. First points it would be for this team, of course, in GPVWC career ladder, making our debut. Let's see what Piszczan can do down into turn 1. It's a little bit of a DRS train as Rafael Tuomala is just ahead of them. He's a little bit down the road, actually. That's a lap car. I think it's one of the VMS Tunedis racing cars off the top of my head, but it will give Seifert some DRS and maybe a little bit of a reprieve. Both of the cars go through. Can Piszczan get down the inside? No, not just yet. He might have to wait till Villeneuve stays in behind through Tamburello. Actually, keeps a very tidy line indeed through there. Can he find his way through? Again, not just yet. Staying behind, not able to gain that momentum. By the way, in the meantime, Riboli and Thylin is still line of stern. There goes wide. Piszczan onto the gravel as well, and he's able to hold on to the car, but that goes his chance of 7th position, I would suggest, in this race. Here is Riboli and Thylin. They are as close as ever, and again, I think Riboli here, it's within his best interest to wait to the final lap.
Yeah, this battle is really going to spice up now, the two of them, hoping to get that DRS overtake done into the final lap so that there can be no more opportunities after that. But Yeah, certainly. These two have been really pushing each other and are really close on pace, it seems. So it'll be interesting to see how they'll just strategize this, and it'll be interesting to see whether they can find themselves in P2.
And I'll ask you, Jan, as we see Massimiliano Riboli potentially going to make this move. I'll let him go before I do ask you this question. Through into turn one is going to be the plan for Massimiliano Riboli. Can he find his way through? The DRS is powerful. Is it powerful enough to allow this Alfa Sierra car through into the penultimate lap of the race? No, it is not. I was going to ask you, is DRS almost too powerful around this circuit? Because we see so many moves being made with it, and so easily as well.
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, for these cars, it does seem quite a vital aspect to the racing. So, yeah, again, the battle between Thailand and Riboli certainly is going down to the wire, with DRS being exactly the weapon of use. So, I think just last lap, what we might have seen is Riboli consciously backing off in order to get the DRS when he really needs it. And that way trying to secure the P2, but we'll have to wait and see how that pans out.
It's going to go down to the wire. 0.2 of a second is the gap right now. We'll follow them, I believe, through the course of this penultimate lap and onto the final lap. Here we go. Yellow flags still fly in Sector 1 now this time, and on the board into Sector 3. Riboli is going to be practically pushing Thailand through this final corner. Here they go. Alfa Sierra looking for a chance to take hold in this Constructors' Championship early on into the season, whereas Thailand looking to solidify himself as a championship contender. Riboli, though, looking for the 1-2 onto the final lap of the race. He's going to get the DRS, and again, it should be a pretty easy move for him. We're on the final lap of the race. Very little moves are this easy. Thailand will try to go to the inside, but it's going to be all in vain. It'll be Villeneuve that he has to wait for. Riboli goes through into P2, looks to be securing this second place and this 1-2, but Thailand is pushing him through Tamburello. Up to Villeneuve they go. Can he fight back? No, it looks like he cannot. Massimiliano Riboli is going to secure.
And Imola has just secured P5 for himself. He's just managed to make the move, just like Riboli here has made his final move with the DRS. And Imola now looks to be securing P5 for himself the exact same way.
Don't speak too soon yet, as here goes Thailand down the inside now, looking to go on Massimiliano Riboli. Puts his nose in there, and they make contact. And just about holding on is Riboli, sliding as he may. And up into Aqua Minerale, holds on to the position. His teammate 5 seconds down the road is about to rack up his first win of the season in this first round, as they go now up into Variante Alta. Can Riboli hold on to second position at the moment? Yes, he can. It might just be a drag race to the line. You know, Luke Mitchell is going to win his first race of the season. We know that much, but Riboli is still under pressure. Up into Ravazza they go. Thailand is not going down without a fight. Has to go to the outside.
Very late braking.
Oh my God. He goes. It is incredible move on the final corner of the race. Luca Thailand is going to get to second position. There is confirmation of Luke Mitchell's victory in this race, but Luca Thailand with the most special move you might see around Imola to get Massimiliano Riboli right at the line. That was incredible.
Unreal. I cannot believe that move. That is the sort of move you see champions make in desperation into the final two corners. The Rivata. That's where he decides to make his move around the outside. That is incredible.
I think the excitement was slightly justified there, as Beppit is now going through the final couple of corners. He'll finish in 17th position. Not a bad performance from the Hood Performance Engineering side in this race. Caitlin Penny will finish in 18th position, just slightly outside reverse grid contention. Dominic Slarbon may be looking to repeat the heroics of Thailand, though with his teammate just ahead of him and not for points. I don't think they're going to risk this one going into the DNF column, but it is Mitchell who wins this race, and well, I don't think there are many complaints about that. It was a grand slam, yeah.
Yep, a very quiet race for Luke Mitchell. I mean, good for him. Unfortunate for us, as we didn't get to commentate too much of him. But yeah, certainly a very good drive from Luke Mitchell. Didn't put a tyre wrong. But certainly, what an amazing battle we got to witness between Lucas Hyland and Massimiliano Riboli.
Luke Mitchell finishing his final, his in lap in this race. His cool down lap is the word I was looking for. Jan, when we get it, I'll allow you to take us through these race results because frankly your pronunciation is far better than mine. Parking into victory lane is Luke Mitchell. And Jan, the race results for the first race of this career ladder season.
Well, thank you. So here we go with Luke Mitchell completing the first race of the season in first place. Lucas Hyland in second. Massimiliano Riboli rounding out the podium for this race. Louis Hartley in P4, Mikael Tormala P5, Maxime Beaulieu in P6, Roy Zeither in 7th with Mateusz Piszczan in 8th, and Noah Tuomela and Tommi Koivunen rounding up the top 10. We've got Craig Patterson in 11th with Bobby Vaquinov in 12th, and Davide Zanini in 13th with Seva Panasenko in 14th, Luca Gray in 15th, Sven Smits in 16th, and Johannes Leppert in 17th, with Caitlin Penny in 18th, and Junio Lopez in 19th, and Victor Cabello in 20th. In 21st, we've got Alex Hallows and Joan Dix in 22nd, with Dominic Schlabon in 23rd, and Yannick Akashuk in P24, with Magnus Ockenhorg in 25th, Dan Hutt in 26th, and Florian Haase counting as a DNF in P27, Mihajlo Vicentijevic in 28th, and then Tanya Sander in 29th, Luca Tiziano in 30th, classified as DNFs, and Tommy Lee and Scott Morris as well in 31st and 32nd.
Well, I think you might just be an AI if you don't need a drink after that one. So we are going to be back in about 5 minutes' time for the second race here in San Marino, a track that always delivers and is continuing to deliver here in 2023. See you in 5 minutes' time. Welcome back, everybody, to Formula Sprint 2 on GPVWC. It is the first of the season. It's the second race of the season, actually. Round 1 just happened. A spectacular move from Luca Thailand saw, well, probably the most spectacular move I've ever seen. Jan Granqvist, but saw him go into second position. Yeah, this should be just as exciting of a race.
Yeah, certainly. And yeah, man, I still haven't gotten over that move. What an amazing way to end race 1. But here we are now for race 2. And, we'll soon see the grid order for this one. With Tom Dillon taking first place for this grid, and Noah Doman in second, Mateusz Pishan in third, and Roy Seifert in fourth. Maxime Beaulieu in fifth, Mikael Tuomala in sixth, and Louis Hartley in seventh, and Massimiliano Riboli starting now in P8. Ninth is Lucas Thailand, 10th Luke Mitchell, 11th Craig Patterson, and 12th Bobby Vakuinov. And in the 13th we have, I'm sorry, I've now lost visual to our stream, so just hang tight. Let's sort out this. So
there we go. We apologise. We basically had an issue with our screen share for a moment, but we are back. And yeah, last 10 grid slots.
Yeah, finally we are back. So in 21st we've got Alex Hallows, 22nd we've got Jon Dix. Sorry, I've just missed 23rd and 24th, but we have Magnus Ockenhog in P25, Dan Hutt in P26, and Mihailo Vicentievich in P27, Florian Haase in 28th, with Danny Stander in 29th, Luca Tiziano in 30th, and Tom Ely in 31st, and Scott Morris rounding off the grid in 32nd.
Well, there's always something in broadcasting, isn't there, that throws you a little bit of a googly that you have to react to. But as we get ready for race 2 here, something that's exciting for me, and I promise with you I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can. Put Matthews Pishkan in third position. If he can hold on to that position, my word, I think this commentary box might just have the roof fall off. But as the guys line up on the grid, Jan, I'll quickly ask you, race winner today.
No, for this one, it's too much to ask. I'm rooting for my boy, from my boys in Scuderia Cap Clay. Let's just say that.
It's a fair assessment as we go to the lights. 5 of them are on. And it's lights out, and away we go in San Marino for the second time, and it's a pretty decent start for the Reading Game Car in third position, but not as good of a start as Kuvian and Vision Tuvik as they go down into turn 1. Tommy Kuvian might actually just take the lead of this one. Around the outside we go. It's trying to go. Pishkin in third position, trying to go around the outside. He's onto the grass, and he might just not hold on to the car. He goes into 6th position in the end. Holds on though. No huge crash at the moment, but out of the podium running as there goes the Alfa Sierra car around the outside into, I think that must be about 7th position at this stage in the race. But disappointment from Pishkan early on as Tommy Kuvian is in the lead of the race in the Cap Clay car. Tuomela is in 2nd position. He falls back a little bit at this stage, but here is Pishkan trying to get himself back up ahead of Massimiliano Riboli. It's for 8th position. This one as yellow flags start to fly around this racetrack for the first time in this race. My word, crazy race start.
Wow, yeah, absolutely. Pretty race 1-esque again with just how close these cars are following each other. And again, we're seeing a car going off in Aqua Minerale. Again, seemingly the rear end just not liking that corner at all. And Mateusz Pishan now finds himself in all kinds of mess with cars just left, right and centre, not knowing which way to go right now and which way to look. As we're approaching now the regattas, again, 2 cars looking to go side by side. As we saw Thailand take his P2 in last race, and yeah, again, cars just trying to sort out their positions and figure out a way through as there's a car sideways and potentially collects a second car. Oh no, they're teammates. It is very unlucky.
Oh dear. I mean, you know, I thought it would happen after race 1. Then I have to commentate on the reading game cars coming together. But anyway.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate accident to happen right there. But yeah, as we now go on to the second lap again, cars right in the slipstream trains as we saw in race 1 again. Just so close to each other, everyone. And especially with the reverse grid, we're seeing the faster people now clump up together and sort of just try and just get through as quickly as possible, even though the DRS hasn't even been activated yet.
Well, it's about as bad as a potential first podium attempt could have gone from our perspective, but as we look further forward in the field, now that Matthews is out of this one, Imola is attacking Roy Siffert for the lead of this race. Once DRS does get enabled, that's going to be a very spicy one indeed, as will this Luke Mitchell forcing his way through the field. He's in 8th position at the moment after lap 1, trying to attack Raboli, no doubt, in the next couple of moments' time. But here's Imola almost pushing Siffert through into this final corner. The two Ravazzas, here he goes out to the final corner. It's a little bit further behind than he would have liked, 0.2 of a second with DRS. No doubt a chance, but no chance here really with just the slipstream, unless he's very, very fast indeed down the straight. But the top 3 after 1 is Siffert, Tuamala, Bilu and Kuvian in 4th position. No changes to that podium at the moment just yet, though. There's a move further back, and it's Mitchell through on Riboli. We only just barely saw that, but that was a huge move from Luke Mitchell through into turn 1.
Just about missed on that myself, but yeah, we see the Alpha Sierra guys back to back, and here's now Mikael Tuomala in P9 as well, trying to get his way through on Vakuinov in P8. But yeah, right now quite a strong contender in P2 as well, Tuomela. It's quite confusing actually, these two names, Tuomela and Tuomala. Two Finnish people with very similar sounding names, easy to confuse. But yeah, Tuomela in P2 right now, and Tuomala attacking P8 right now in P9. Again, we see a car getting loose in Aqua Minerale, as we've been seeing for the whole evening.
Yeah, indeed, as here goes Tommy Kuviu. He's looking forward for the podium on Maxime Bilu, but actually has got Louis Hartley to contend with first. Hartley's going to look to around the outside of Ravazza. I wonder where he got the inspiration for that from, as now he switches to the inside and can't quite make that move on this occasion. I think just about everyone in GPVWC, by the way, has seen that move, judging by the YouTube chat during the warm-up session. But here goes Louis Hartley. Can he find a way through? There's a chance for a move for second position. As Tuamela is under pressure. Bilu's going to be able to get through. The DRS is enabled onto the grass. Goes Louis Hartley. Kubian is able to hold firm. It was actually a very aggressive defence, but it might just be a fair defence.
Very close racing we're seeing right now. It's only lap 4 again. We've got Scott Morris now around the outside trying to defend into Tamburello, and might be quite a wise decision to take it around the outside, because it is one of those sections where you can sort of find yourself defending from either side of the track, and you'll still have the advantage just as long as you're ahead of the car that is currently attacking. And here we've got people going side by side through Piratel. It's Lee Hartley now looking to capitalise potentially on Noah Tuomela going into Aqua Minerale. Just about everyone seems to be going through it clean this time around. And wow, look at just how close Lee Hartley is to the back of Tuomela's car.
Very, very close indeed. And is that Luke Mitchell trying to get himself involved? I think it is, and with his pace in this race weekend so far, I think he might just find himself on the podium very soon indeed. Does Mitchell go to the inside? We've seen him make aggressive moves on his sifting through the field. Not quite on this occasion. As we go round the final corner now, Luke Mitchell will have the DRS in his favour. Will he have the straight line speed though? With all the other guys caught in a little bit of a DRS train, and by the looks of things, Luke Mitchell might just have the chance to go and make this move. Nicks the slipstream from Tuomela in 4th position, gets to the inside of Louis Hartley and gets to that position as well, as there's contact up ahead, and Tuomela and Kuvian almost take each other out, but at the moment, all is fair in love and war. Can Mitchell get to the inside in Villeneuve? We're not too sure as we switch to look at Sven Schmitz trying to get to 11th position. The answer was no. Luke Mitchell couldn't get through into Villeneuve. Tosa is his next opportunity, but again, it will be the next lap now. I think he looks to attack to Imola. This race win, by the way, is well and truly on for Luke Mitchell with 12 laps to go.
Yeah, Luke Mitchell, as we just saw, had to be very brave into the braking to turn 1. With everyone seemingly in this same DRS train, so everyone is sharing that benefit amongst each other. So the only thing that you have going for yourself is the potential slipstream you might be getting from the car ahead. As we see now, this group is really going head to head now. Look at this, almost too wide heading into Variante Alta. Look at that, it's very messy at the moment. It looks like Luke Mitchell is going through all of this right now in P4 and Hartley following suit in P5.
Well, Luke Mitchell getting through in race 2s is always a feature of these championships. And remember, Luke Mitchell was very much pushing Ruben Machete to the championship in the previous season. It was very much actually a last minute gasp for Luke Mitchell to finish 3rd in that championship off the top of my head. And I don't think many of us expected the championship result that we did. Here goes Hartley around the outside, and I'm definitely, and I think you might agree here, Jan, as we have a slight break in the action as Ely gets past Lepit on this occasion. There is that move, Ely, for this side up into that 13th position. I think Luke Mitchell here is solidifying himself as probably the de facto favourite for this championship.
Oh yeah, for sure. I have no doubt in my mind he's going to do well this season. And just looking by his performance so far, it's been it was a quiet race 1, and now it's looking to be a very strong race 2. He's picking his fights well, as like looking at just his progress through this field so far. I mean, he's already in P4, and we haven't even got to the halfway point of this race yet. And as we see, Craig Patterson very close to his target there in P19. Zanini holding on to P19. Patterson almost going too wide into Piratella there, having to negotiate that corner to not go and potentially spin off. And now he looks to be under pressure from who's that in P21 behind him? It's Magnus Ockenhorg who's now pressuring Craig Patterson. So yeah, situation's changing all the time, just from corner to corner.
Is indeed 10 laps remaining is the call at the top of your screen. It's Luke Mitchell, the main story of the day at the moment, chasing down that 3rd position, and Tommy Kuvian, something that he's actually chasing down very, very quickly every single lap. He has set the fastest lap of the race, 134.5 on the previous lap compared to 135.2, about a second a lap then from Luke Mitchell. Here is Yannick Akashok trying to attack 16th position, the VMS Sun Edits racing car. One thing I do like about these VMS guys is one driver with a green rear wing and one driver with a purple rear wing. Makes it very easy for us commentators later on into the season when we start to get to know this grid a little bit better. But at the moment it seems to be pretty formation flying. It's one of those quieter race 2s where we're just sort of seeing these guys get back into their regular positions in a way.
Yeah, as we see again, this pack with Lee Hartley just trying to buy this time behind Luke Mitchell and Tommy Koivunen, seeing if DRS is going to be available for all of them. Potentially things could really shake up now as we head on to the regattas and then into the main straight. It's a very long pack. It seems to extend all the way to Mikael Tuomala in P7, all the way up to P3. Oh my god, it's going to be 3 wide potentially into turn 1. It's Tommy Koivunen just about thinking better of it in P4, seeing if he can do anything into Villeneuve with Mitchell still in P3, but Beaulieu comes off the best at the moment, still hanging on to that P2 position.
Indeed, Luke Mitchell into third position, able to almost complete this comeback drive. It's about 4.2 seconds to Roy Siffert in the lead of this race. Tommy Cuvier now finds himself under increasing pressure from the King's racing car of Louis Hartley. That number 89 machine has looked fast all evening long. Can he find himself into third position, fourth position, I should say? Massimiliano Riboli is trying to find himself into that fourth as well. It's going to be so close. This pack is...
Oh no!
Oh, there goes Riboli! And he's locked up the rears and he's round, and it's not going to be the dream result for this Alpha Sierra side. In fact, he just got caught short on the brakes, and now he's side by side with Vanguard down into the Variante Alto. He loses out on 8th position, down into 9th. Thylin sets the fastest lap of the race, all the way down in the lower positions. Actually, I can't quite see where Thylin is. I know he had a spin, if I'm not mistaken, earlier on the race. Riboli looking to go to the inside, not able to find anything just yet. Mitchell will be attacking with 6/10 to Bilu. That second position, no doubt, in just a moment's time. But Bilu sets the fastest lap of the race himself. Here is Louis Hartley. Can he get past Tommy Cuvier at this juncture? Around the outside, he has to go into the Tamburello, and I think he might just make this move to the outside, just avoiding contact. Louis Hartley into fourth position. Mitchell in third. Bilu in second. Siffert in first. And this race is getting closer by the moment. Here's Davide Zanini looking to the outside of Cabello. Can he get through into Tamburello? Almost the same move his teammate made just a few moments ago, but not quite able to find anything just yet. There's a VMS Sun in his car trying to attack him at the same time. This is what happens in this pack racing. You can find yourself in all sorts of trouble. Through they go into this Villeneuve chicane, and Zanini just moves over to defend ever so slightly. Now into Tosa, has to defend once more, which he does, and we hold on to the position.
Not leaving a centimetre unused. All of these cars are just trying to do their best to keep behind the cars ahead of them, and sometimes having to back out as they reach a corner, perhaps a bit too close to the car ahead for comfort. And it's again, oh no, it's Zanini's taken out the car in front of him. He's bottomed out on the curb of Aqua Minerale, and fortunately for the two of them, they haven't spun off or hit the wall or anything of the sorts, but they have lost out on a lot of time and a few positions there for sure.
And there they go again. Zanini gets through into 19th position, but how much is it worth, really, when he's essentially taken the guy who's just passed out? Cabello, I imagine, will be feeling a little bit hard done by, and there he goes. There's a looked up, and there is a kamikaze move down the inside. That is someone who's a little bit angry with what's happened to him throughout the course of this race, and he falls down to 22nd position. Probably a little bit of damage on that car as well from that incident. DRS ablaze though. He's going to try and find himself back into the top 20 if at all possible. In the meantime, it's now 5 between Bilu and Mitchell. Bilu is actually behind Mitchell on this occasion. We missed the move in all of the commotion. Mitchell now 3.5 seconds to the lead of the race. He couldn't, could he?
I was actually just about following that battle between Luke Mitchell and Bo Leo. It was a simple pass with a DRS through the straight, and now Luke Mitchell very much hunting down P1. It's 6 laps to go, and the gap is 3 seconds. So, I mean, it remains to be seen, but this could very much spice up until the end.
I suspect it might do just that. Here's Massimiliano Riboli after his previous spin, trying to get through onto Imola, who's fallen down the order quite significantly throughout the course of this race, starting in that second position. Can he get to the inside, Massimiliano Riboli, or is he going to try to the outside this time? No, Ravazza is not really an overtaking opportunity for him, and it will continue to not be an overtaking opportunity for him. Mitchell is the fastest lap of the race, 1:33.7. How much, you may ask, did he take out of Roy Siffert on the previous lap? And the answer to that question is damn near a second and a half. Here is Riboli do the inside as Tumala gets through on Cuvian for 5th position. Massimiliano Riboli gets through onto Imola for 7th position, and is back up into at least a top 7 position for the time being. The top 5, I think, is the sights that you have, though. Back to the inside, the counter attack comes. Riboli defends very late indeed, and he gets holding on to that position. Not a huge drama at this stage. 2.4 for the lead of the race. We have got 5 laps to go, if I am not mistaken. And this is going to go right down to the wire in San Marino.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this pack of cars with the DRS is it's going to be an interesting thing to watch again. Who's going to play it safe? Who's going to potentially go for those kamikaze moves as we've seen into the Rivatas? It'll be quite the challenge for these drivers to really figure out how they can maximize their position right now as it stands. But Luke Mitchell certainly closing down the gap rapidly onto Roy Seifert.
Let's wait and see. Can Shock get through? He stays in 16th position for the time being, and this battle continues on. There is the 5 laps remaining call at the top of the tower. But Anchor Shock unable to get through just yet.
Akashuk just eyeing out the move that very likely is going to happen into this straight with the DRS. Again, a weapon of choice of all these drivers in the grid, I reckon. Both of them, however, it looks like have their wings open, so there's going to be just a race down to the slipstream advantage that he could have. Is he going to send one down into turn 1 into Tamburello? No, he thinks better of it. Leaves that move to be done for another lap.
Akashok still stays behind. Into Villeneuve is his opportunity. The opportunity doesn't quite arise for him, though. They make contact in these rounds! Into Villeneuve, and he might just avoid the King's Racing car. He does. It's a perfect 360, but he's going to lose out on a couple of positions down into 20th. Holds it into Tozer. Sticks his nose in there, but not able to find a way through. 1.6 seconds. The gap at the head of the field. Luke Mitchell chasing down Roy Seifert. And I have to say, it's starting to look very, very possible indeed from this Alpha Sierra crew to try and pick up the double win. Of course, both of those being Luke Mitchell. Here goes Luca Gray into 9th position, getting past on Tuomela. And I have to say, Tuomela looked a little bit slow there. I'm not too sure what happened to him. There is the positions gained, by the way. Luke Mitchell, 8.20 for Tom Ely. He's having quietly an incredible recovery drive.
Wow, that is certainly standing out as a drive of the day at the moment. Look at that. Out of all the other drivers, doesn't seem like there's too much movement, except, I mean, obviously Luke Mitchell has done quite a work up to get potentially into contention for the win here. And yeah, I mean, Tom Ely, though, 20 positions gained, that is quite the effort.
And points as well, though it might just make it 19 as, well, 21 I should say, as around the outside goes Tom Ely. On to Amela, through into 10th position, 21 positions, sir. Top 10 finish. I don't think your team manager can ask you for anything better than that. Luke Mitchell, by the way, 1.3 over the last timing loop. We'll see what happens over the next one, whether he's able to gain any time at all. Yellow flags in Sector 1. I think it might actually...
You know what? I think Seifert might have done a mistake here. Look at that. The gap's now down to half a second.
He has indeed. Let's have a ride on board with Luke Mitchell if we can. See what's happened to Roy Seifert. Here is Luke Mitchell. It's so close. He might just be able to make it a double in San Marino as we go through the final corner. Let's see if the DRS is going to prove just as powerful as it can be for Luke Mitchell, who won race 1 here in San Marino, looking to solidify himself as the de facto favourite, as we mentioned, for this championship. Will it be on lap 14, though, that he is able to make a move that seems almost inevitable? To the outside, Luke Mitchell has to go through into Tamburello, and no, it will not be lap 14, at least into turn 1, that this move is made. Luke Mitchell stays in 2nd position, but now he is imposing, and he is pushing for this move.
You know, I wonder how he's going to play this one. Is he going to play this smart and do the same as his teammate Riboli did for the race 1, where he left his target for the last lap, for the last opportunity of the DRS usage, so he can solidify that move? I'm certain Luke knows that he's going to be faster. However, there is always the risk that Seifert might still keep up in that DRS train and potentially re-overtake him. So we'll have to keep looking and seeing whether that might happen.
This is a battle for the top 15 positions. Hockenhauer has to break late. There he is at the top of that field. A little gaggle, I should say. 0.5 of a second the gap at the front, by the way. Hockenhauer staying in 15th position. There's almost a switchback on that occasion from Dominic Schlabon on Levitt. I do want to get a shot again off the top of the field because that battle is only going to get closer and closer onto the penultimate lap of the race in just a moment's time. Let's keep an eye on it. It's so close at the top of this field. 0.4 of a second. Here we go, down into Tamburello once again. Can Luke Mitchell find his way through this time on lap 15 as lap 14 wasn't good enough? Does he get through now or does he wait till the final lap? He's a little bit too far back, I think. And he's going to have to charge up that attack, as if you're playing Need for Speed and you get that nitro boost or something, charge up that attack and go for it into the final lap. Louis Hartley's made a mistake. He's into the pits actually on this occasion. That's frustrating. He's going to fall in all the way out of the top 10. By the way, Tom Ely, 22 positions now.
Incredible. That drive is looking all the time more spicier. However, I think it's exactly as how I predicted. Luke Mitchell has saved up his DRS for the last lap, and now we're potentially going to see the full wrath of a DRS wide open and slipstream going down into Tamburello, and we're going to see that in about half a lap's time. While here is this pack with Dominic Schlabon in 16th in the middle of 4 cars battling with each other in such a close proximity.
Indeed, it's almost as close as that battle at the top of the field as Tumi go into a left-hander of Tozer, and it's almost a little bit too personal for these guys for this 15th position. There's Dominic Schlabon actually bump drafting through into the next left-hander. To the inside he goes. Can he find himself getting through on Leppit? No, he can't. He's just...
I'm sorry to cut you off right here, right now, but we've got Luke Mitchell versus Roy Zeifer going into the final lap, DRS wide open.
Let's have a look then. Can Luke Mitchell get through on the final lap? Potentially his final opportunity. Looks a little bit too far back, but is he too far back is the question. He'll have to go to the outside. Ziffer defends for his life. It's a first win in GPVWC on the line to my knowledge, and Mitchell can't find himself getting through on this occasion. Will have to be waiting for this Villeneuve chicane, and potentially a position and a chance thereafter. Through they go. Ziffer holding on for the time being. Mitchell might have left it too little too late. Into Tozer they go. Is it a dive bomb? No. He thinks about it. You can smell that Luke Mitchell is thinking about this move, but he's not quite able to find a way through just yet. 0.2 of a second maybe. He's going to have to get creative like Thailand did.
Yeah, definitely. It's looking very spicy right now. I'm surprised. I think Luke Mitchell might have just lost his edge for the final few laps here. He was cashing with such a rapid rate to Roy Zeifer, but now it looks like Roy Zeifer might have all this to defend from him. Like, Roy Zeifer is very much driving potentially to the win here. We'll have to see what happens into the regattas.
There's a mistake. There's a mistake.
Very close.
Ziffer, Jan. And it's a slight mistake, but Luke Mitchell might just find himself getting opportunity into Ravazza. It's going to have to be a strong defence from Roy Ziffer. What can Luke Mitchell do? To the inside he goes. It's a dive bomb, and they almost make contact, and they do. And Mitchell's through on the inside. It's a controversial move. It might not stand, but Luke Mitchell, for the time being, is going to make it a double in San Marino. Through he goes into the lead of the race, and that might not stand. It might not stand, you know. It was so aggressive. But for now, Luke Mitchell wins the race.
Yeah, man, I don't blame a driver for going for that move. However, I do have to say it does look like a bit of a forced move, which will certainly have the race directors look at that one, and it's potentially going to be a bit of a sanction coming up for Luke Mitchell, at least from my prediction. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But I mean, man, what a race we've had for race 1 and 2 again.
Was it his corner is my question. I know we've only seen one and we don't have a replay for you, but on your first viewing, was it his corner? Was he significantly enough alongside to be needing the space? I don't think he was.
Yeah, I think I agree with that statement. He definitely went for a kind of dive there. From my perspective, where he was, I think, at most he might have had his front wing almost line up with the rear wing of Roy Seifert, but at the time, as they closed up to the apex, obviously that gap was closing in. But to me, it looked like Luke was not going to make that corner. So, yeah, I mean, we'll have to leave that up to the judges, but for now, for certain, it was a bit of a forced move, at least from our perspective.
We will get a chance, no doubt, to hear from the man himself. And I can see Stephen Lexo queuing up for an interview, so maybe we'll get him to weigh in. But first, it's your race results with Jan Granqvist, who I stress once again, his pronunciation of these European names is far better than mine. So Jan, take it away.
Well, thank you. So, again, our race winner for today in race 1 and race 2, Luke Mitchell, as it stands for now. And we've got Roy Seifert in still a very brilliant P2, a brilliant effort for him. And Maxime Beaulieu in a quiet podium, a very, very well-deserved podium for him today. And Mikael Tuomala and Tommi Koivunen in the Scuderia Cap Clay cars, threading off the top 5, with Massimiliano Riboli fighting his way back up to P6 after having spun out, and Bobby Vaquinov in P7, Tom Ely with a massive drive up into P8, Seva Panasenko in P9, and Luca Gray rounding off the top 10. As we've got Noah Tuoma in P11 with Sven Smith in P12, and Jörn Dix in P13 with Magnus Ockenhog in P14. In P15, we've got Dominic Schlabon, Yannick Akashuk in P16, with Davide Zanini in 17th, Florian Hazer in 18th, Johannes Leppit in P19, and Dan Hutt in 20th. In 21st, we've got Mihailo Vicentievich and Caitlin Penny following in 22nd, with Lucas Thielen in 23rd, Junior Lopez in 24th, Scott Morris in P25, with Victor Carvalho in P26. And that's it for the finishers. As for the DNFs, we've got Louis Hartley, Craig Patterson, Matheus Pischan, Alex Hallows, and potentially 2 more, Luca Tiziano and Danny Stander.
As there we go then. Those are your race results. And without further ado, it's about time that we go and find ourselves getting an interview with a couple of these drivers. And when I say a couple of these drivers, first of all, we've got an interview, not a driver, but a team manager. And it's going to be Stephen Lexo. Stephen, long time no speak. I'm very glad to have you back in the box after an FS2 race. This time, not as a driver, this time as purely a team manager. And I'm going to ask you about the obvious question there. That move from Luke Mitchell, maybe a little bit too far back. What are your thoughts?
Well, I have to look at it. Roy wasn't sure if he was alongside or not, so he didn't want to commit too late to defend it. Yeah, was maybe a bit far back, but I have to look at it again and yeah, see what we are going to do. As you know, I'm not the biggest fan of reporting all the time, so let's see.
Well, I'm just watching it again, and I have to say it is going to be something that you're all going to have a look at, because I can tell you it looks on the bubble to me, and you know, I don't want to really fall down on one side at the moment. But anyway, in terms of this season, you haven't got yourself and Reuven in the car. How are your new drivers adjusting to this in the absence of 2 guys who are, well, obviously yourself and Reuven, incredibly fast?
Yeah, the preparation to the season has been quite good. We haven't put in as much laps as some other guys. The FS0 guys are always putting in a lot of laps. So yeah, we have some work to do on the setup there. The stability and the traction are not where we want them to be yet. But apart from that, I'm pretty happy with Roy so far. Johan didn't have the he didn't have that much time to practice for this round, so his comeback in race 2 was quite great, as he had some bad luck in race 1, just like me last year. but he kept his head, drove to the end in race 1, got a few positions, and got some important points for us in race 2.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Stephen. I will ask Jan one thing. Jan, do you have any questions for Stephen before we let him go?
Let's see. I mean, in terms of Roy Seifert's performance, I mean, how happy are you from a scale of 1 to 10 to round off this interview?
Well, I think about 8.5 to 9. So he's done pretty much what we expected. The pace in race 1 was quite great, but unfortunately he did some small mistakes. As I said, we are not happy with the traction and the stability of the setup so far. So it's a little bit more tricky to drive, especially over the curbs. We could see that other guys were just jumping over them while we couldn't do that. So if we get that right, I think he's going to be a contender for many victories and podiums in the second races. The first races will be tricky because the competition of Alpha Sierra especially is quite strong, as we know. And yeah.
I certainly agree with that statement. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure having you, Stephen. Thank you very much. And hopefully we speak to you in 2 weeks' time.
Yep, thanks for having me.
And it looks like for now, actually, that's going to be our first and last interview of the night. No one joining us. So, well, let's round this out then, Jan. First race broadcast together. I thought it went very well. I enjoyed it a lot. And, well, it was 2 incredible final laps. Surely this can't continue next time out.
Yeah, for certain. It was a great experience and a lovely way to kick off 2023 for me in the commentary box. And great to have you as well as the lead commentator. And yeah, it's been great. And I mean, I'm looking forward to the next one already.
Well, good luck with your SL1 antics over the next couple of weeks or whatever you're driving in the current ladder. I think it's SL1. But
Yes.
Anyway, as well, thank you guys for joining us on the stream too. FS1 is the next broadcast on GPVWC off the top of my head. That is on Thursday. Yes, on the 2nd of March. That's in 2 days' time. So join us for that. Then, of course, SL1 and SL2 kick off their seasons over the next week. That's also the Tuesday and Thursday slot. But for us, from the FS2 crew, we thank you all very much for watching. Myself, Tom Dillon Jan Granqvist, Vincent Gutt on comms, and Shimon Frelich, who's been sitting in just making sure it is a tight ship. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time for what should be another spectacular race. Good night.